Imagine it's 1978. Saturday morning cartoons are blaring, cereal bowls are brimming, and the living room floor is your kingdom. But instead of battling with superheroes or building galaxies far, far away, you're constructing a bright yellow castle with blocky knights and no dragons in sight. Before Lego became the entertainment empire it is today, with Star Wars ships and Marvel heroes, the bricks of the 1970s told a very different story. It was a transformative decade of simplicity and creativity. In this video, we're listing off 10 forgotten Lego sets from the 1970s that many kids once played with and most probably haven't thought about since. First up is the OG of Lego sets, the iconic Set 375. Released in 1978, this set was Lego's brave first step into the medieval theme. It introduced the world to the concept of Lego-themed builds. Before this, Lego was just bricks. This castle turned those bricks into knights, towers, and drawbridges. Yellow was weird for a medieval castle, right? But that's what made it iconic. It wasn't trying to be historically accurate. Set 375 had over 770 pieces, which was a huge deal at the time. It came with 14 knight minifigures, all featuring movable visors and printed shields. But here's the kicker. Minifigures had just launched the same year, so these weren't the polished characters we know now. These knights had no facial features, just solid yellow heads. There were also brick horses and modular walls that let you redesign your fortress on the fly. It was basically Lego's medieval sandbox. Another fun detail, the castle could swing open like a dollhouse, offering kids access to every room and turret. Although it lacked the realism of later castles, it was an instant hit among kids. They spent their summers creating epic Lego battles. Adults respected the engineering, and collectors today still get teary-eyed looking at this piece of wonder. The Yellow Castle was a game changer. This set is the reason Lego themes like Ninjago, Pirates, and even Lord of the Rings exist. It planted the seed and remains a major part of Lego's history. Today, it's a prized vintage Lego set among collectors, with original boxes fetching hundreds of dollars and sealed sets valued at over $8,000. Next, we have the Police Headquarters, Set 381. Imagine patrolling a blocky brick city with blue roofs and stop signs the size of a minifig. That's what kids got with the Police Headquarters set. Released in 1979, this set was part of the early Legoland town theme. It was one of the largest city-style builds of its day. The set included a 2-story building, a parking area, several police vans, and even a rooftop helipad. Not bad for a time when most buildings were simple boxes. Its black and white color scheme made it stand out, and the jail bars gave kids a place to stash their Lego crooks. Minifigures? You bet. This set came with 4, all wearing those now iconic police hats and simple printed torsos. And though the van looked more like a white cube on wheels, it did a great job in a world where every brick had to multitask. The design was straightforward, but it laid the foundation for the detailed city sets we see today. Set 381 even had a European variant labeled as Set 588. Same build, different box. That subtle change makes either version a rare collector's gem today. So, if you were a 70s kid obsessed with sirens and squad cars, this set probably had a permanent place on your bedroom floor. In the world of 1970s Lego towns, you couldn't just have houses and cops. You needed a garage. And in 1979, Lego delivered with Set 361, a garage and auto service center combo that added realism to any street corner. It was part of the classic town theme, depicting everyday life. With just 79 pieces, it wasn't a huge set by today's standards, but it was full of charm. The building had a sloped red roof, a tiny office with transparent windows, and a white and red color scheme that screamed retro design. Most importantly, it had a car lift that allowed a car to be raised for pretend repairs. It also came with a single blue car and a few mechanic minifigs, who were probably overworked, given how many kids can repair shops 24/7. The signage featured a printed garage brick, a rare piece now. What made it extra fun? You could actually combine it with other town sets to form an entire working city. Back then, that interconnectivity was a selling point. And today, collectors still hunt for this forgotten Lego set to complete their vintage town display. A year after the last Apollo moon mission, Lego released Set 565, Moon Landing. This set celebrated the space race era. Set 565 featured a blocky lunar lander, complete with landing legs and an American flag sticker. 2 astronaut figures in white suits and bubble helmets stood proudly next to it. These weren't standard minifigs, but chunky pre-minifig people referred to as maxifigs with movable arms and legs. The lunar surface was recreated using gray base plates and sloped bricks. It was basic but exciting. Kids could recreate Neil Armstrong's famous step or build their own missions. This set was part of Lego's Legoland range and one of the earliest to reflect real-world events. It also paved the way for the Lego space theme that would explode in popularity later in the decade, evolving into the beloved classic space series. Moon landing is rarely mentioned today, making it a truly forgotten Lego set. But for kids who grew up with both bricks and Buzz Aldrin, it was a gateway to galactic dreams. Let's go back to the very start of the decade. In 1970, Lego released Set 697, Garage with Automatic Door. The door mechanism, using a combination of hinges and tracks, allowed the garage door to slide up and stay open. A clever innovation for its era. It was a step toward the more detailed builds that would define the 1980s. The set featured a simple red and white garage with a sloped roof and enough room to fit a single car. That car? It was a chunky, 4-stud wide vehicle that resembled a delivery van. Today, it's nearly impossible to find complete, especially with the original box. For vintage Lego collectors, it remains a charming piece of early innovation recreated in bricks. This set was just a box of basic bricks and a handful of blocky figures. But it is one of those sets that quietly shape childhoods. It featured curious, pre-minifigure people, brick-built figures with odd proportions and limited posability. They may not have had the charm on today's minifigs, but they were the pioneers. Set 80 came with various bricks in bright primary colors. There were no instructions for complex builds, just inspiration and fun. This was Lego before the franchises, before the playsets. It was raw creativity in a box, and it laid the foundation for the Lego culture we know today. Before Star Wars made its debut in the Lego universe, kids imagined their own space adventures with sets like the 487 Space Cruiser. The 487 Space Cruiser had that iconic classic space design, a blue and gray ship with translucent yellow windows, antennas, and rocket boosters. It came with 2 early astronaut minifigures, those smiley little guys in red and white suits. Kids in the late 70s often paired it with other classic space sets to build moon bases, spaceports, and intergalactic fleets. It's a true vintage Lego treasure that collectors would pay top dollar for. The Lego Police Heliport set wasn't flashy, but it had a kind of gritty utilitarian charm. With a compact heliport structure, a police car, and a rudimentary helicopter, it delivered just enough detail to inspire hours of storytelling. The helicopter featured spinning rotor blades and a simplistic cockpit. The police car had blocky charm with its black and white color scheme, and the entire setup hinted at urban life. The figures were not minifigs as we know them today. This was still in the era of abstract humanoid builds. Yet, children created stories around chases, rescues, and rooftop landings. Lego Set 374 was one of the first sets to fully embrace the newly introduced minifigures. This vintage Lego set came with a 2-bay garage, a control room, fire trucks, and firefighters. The station's bright red and white color scheme made it stand out, and the opening garage doors added a new level of interactivity. You could slide your firemen down a pole, in your imagination, roll out the trucks, and head into an emergency. It was a step toward the realistic playsets of the decades that followed. Even though it was eventually replaced by more elaborate fire stations, the 374 fire station is still iconic. Finally, the cereal box exclusive Set 960. The Weetabix Town Plan was a promotional set released in partnership with Weetabix cereal in the UK. You mailed in coupons from Weetabix boxes to receive this unique Lego set. The set featured a town plan layout, including buildings, roads, and signage. For many UK kids in the mid-70s, this was their introduction to themed environments within Lego. While the structures were simple, the idea of a mapped-out play space was ahead of its time. It wasn't available in stores, which makes it one of the rarest Lego sets from the era. The start of the Lego empire did not look like the corporate sophistication we see today. It was a collection of simple bricks and basic figures. Yet, there's a certain charm in these early sets. For those who grew up with these sets, they hold cherished memories of a time when a handful of bricks could become anything. Which of these vintage Lego sets did you own or wish you had? Share your stories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more nostalgic content. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you won't miss our next video.